Hi everybody, hope you are doing well. Before I start this video, I just want to remind you that if you are studying data analysis by Excel, you are totally different from just an Excel user. You are a data analyst who uses Excel to analyze data. To be a fit for this role, it's very important to understand the concepts behind the different analytical methods. In this playlist, I provide a series of theoretical videos to make sure that you understand the concept before applying it to Excel. In this video, I will cover the concepts of the statistical analysis, and next video will apply them practically in Excel. Statistical analysis has two main types, quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis. From their names, quantitative analysis it deals with quantities, numeric data. Any numeric data is analyzed using the quantitative analysis methods, but any non-numeric data should have other special methods of analysis to be able to analyze the data. Numeric data, such as the marks of the students, the height of students, the sales, the number of customers, number of students, number of suppliers, number of branches, all of these numeric values. For non-numeric values, like answering a survey by yes or no, agree, neutral, or disagree, giving a rating to something from 1 to 5, for example, all of these are non-numeric data that need to be analyzed in a special way, and there are special analysis methods that fits qualitative data. At the beginning, we'll start by quantitative analysis. Quantitative analysis has two main types, descriptive statistical analysis and referential statistical analysis. Descriptive, something to describe. It describes your current data or historical data. Referential, something related to the future. The descriptive statistical analysis method are methods of analysis that summarize and describe the key features of data set, which will describe something that we already have or historic, such as the average or the range. The descriptive analysis focuses on what the data says about itself. How can we describe the current data? Or how can we describe the data that are already in our hands right now? While inferential statistical analysis, this method uses sample data to draw conclusions and to make predictions, something related to the future, about a larger population, and this allows us to infer relationships and trend. For example, if you are asked to analyze the sales of a company during the previous 3 months, you will collect data that the company already have of the sales for this period, and this is what you have right now. What we will do on them is descriptive analysis. You need to describe the data. What was the highest sales, for example, the average of sales, which branch has the highest sale, which branch has the lowest sales, how many branches go above average, and how many branches are below average. All of these methods are used to describe the data. That's why it is called descriptive analysis, and this deals with the current data, just discovering what inside this data. For example, I may discover in my data that during May I have a trend of sale, a trend like the sales goes very high or goes very low. Then after describing our data, this description will give us a conclusion, which is the inferential statistical method. And in the same time, we can make predictions. We have tool in Excel that allows us to make predictions and forecasting and prediction about larger population. This will allow us to find what are the trends in our data, the relationships between data, and the many other insights inside the data. As you heard here, there is something called the population. While analyzing data, we need to understand that there are two main concepts of data, the sample and the population. What is the difference between sample and population? The population is the entire group of individuals or objects that we are interested in studying. For example, if we are interested in studying the effect of cell phone on teens, the teens is a population. This is a larger group. But to study that, we take a sample from this population that contains certain number of individuals to allow us to analyze their behavior toward the cell phone and the effect of the cell phone. So the sample is a smaller subset of population that is selected for a study. When you select a sample, it should represent the whole group. It must be representative of the population for accurate conclusions. The sample that you will choose from your population should represent the population. For example, if your population males in teens ages, the sample should be chosen from males that are teens to represent the group. What is the importance of statistical analysis? It helps in making informed decisions because the statistical analysis provides evidence-based insights to support decision making. For example, sales data. We need to increase the sales 30% by the next month. In this case, we need a decision. We need to make a decision about what to do to increase the sales. We couldn't make the decision randomly because if we make the decision randomly, it may be a hit of a chance that may succeed or fail. But when we use statistical analysis methods, that will provide evidence-based insights, data-driven insights, depending on the data that we have. For example, we may collect the data about the sales of the previous months. We may collect the data about our customers, the buying behavior of our customers, which products our customers like more, which product has the highest sale or the lowest sales. All of these pieces of information will help us to get an evidence-based insights that will lead to make the right decision, or what is called data-driven decision. Decisions that based on existing data and insights from data. Second, statistical analysis will help us in making predictions by using the forecast of future outcomes and anticipate the changes. In Excel, actually, we have tools for forecasting and prediction that can predict, for example, if we follow a certain behavior, how much increase in sales that we will get depending on this behavior and depending on the previously described data. Statistical analysis will help also in identifying the trends. It's important to know the trends within the data. It's very important to uncover the patterns also in the data. For example, by analyzing sales data, we got some patterns like sales are very high during the winter and very low during the summer. That will help us to know what are the trends and the pattern of our sales. And this will help us to make insights and then to make right decisions. The problem is the trends are not obvious at the first glance. We couldn't identify the trends by just the first look at the data. It needs some deep analysis to identify the trends and patterns. It helps also in solving problems. By analyzing the data, we will be able to identify the root causes of issue if we have an issue. If you remember at the beginning of this course, I mentioned that data analysis is used to achieve a goal or to solve a problem. If we have a problem, like sales were dropped, by analyzing the previous data and using the different analysis tools, we will put our hands on the root cause of the issue. And this will help us to solve this issue from its root. And will help also in finding a solution and improve processes. For quantitative statistical analysis, we have two types of measures, the measure of central tendency and the measure of dispersion. Consider when you plot your data, it is distributed in this way. Measure of central tendency will have some insight or information about the center of the data. How much data tends to the center. Measure of dispersion, how much data is dispersed from the center. And Excel has amazing tools for each of these measures. Measures of central tendency. Measuring the mean, median, and mode. The mean. The mean is simply the average. The average value of the data set. And this average value is calculated by summing all of the values and divide them by their total number. For example, the heights of the students in a certain class. And we have some of these heights. To calculate the mean, which is the average, we will sum all the values that we have. Here we have 3 values, for example, and the result of the summation is divided by their number. We have 3 values, so their number is 3. And we don't need to apply this complicated math because we have a function in Excel that can calculate average, and there is a video in the same list about the main functions in Excel. One of them is the average. The median is the middle value in a dataset when arranged in order. If you have the heights of 11 students, to get the median, you will need first to arrange all of the heights in order, and then we will get the value that in the middle, which is value number 6. Mode is the frequent value, which value is repeated frequently in your data set. And this is very useful to understand the most common occurrence in your data set. The second type of measure is the measures of dispersion, like the range, the standard deviation, and the variance. Knowing these values are very important to analyze our data, how my data tend to the center or dispersed or distributed away from the center. The range is the difference between the highest and the lowest values in a data set, and this shows the overall spread of the data. A standard deviation is the average deviation of values from the mean. The mean is the average. How much the other values are deviated from the average. Do I have many values, many occurrences that are far from the average? Or all of my data, most of my data is around the average? If it is far from the average, I have a high standard deviation. If my values are distributed around the average, so this will have low standard deviation. Variance, the square of the standard deviation. Variance is more precise than the standard deviation, especially for large data set. And all of these have tools in Excel. There are functions in Excel that will calculate the range, standard deviation, and also the variance. To sum up, understanding what is statistical analysis is very important as a data analyst. You are not just an Excel user who applies functions, but you need to understand why I need to apply these functions and what is their importance in data analysis. What are the insights that I will get from applying these functions? This depends on what type of analysis I'm doing. The statistical analysis has two main types, the quantitative analysis and the qualitative analysis. Quantitative analysis that we will start with is the analysis of quantities or numeric data. Quantitative analysis can be descriptive analysis or referential analysis. The descriptive statistical analysis is something to describe the current data in hand, to get some insight and to understand what is the data. While the referential give us information about the future and the decision that can be made to solve our problem or achieve the goal. The descriptive analysis, we have many tools for descriptive analysis, like the measure of central tendency and the measure of dispersion. The measures of central tendency, these are tools used to understand how much the data tend to the center of the data. While dispersion, how much data is dispersed and deviated from the center. For the measures of central tendency, we use the mean, the median, and the mode. While the measures of dispersion are the range, the standard deviation, and the variance. In next video, we will work in Excel to get some descriptive analysis of sample data. That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much. If you have any question, write it in the comments down below. See you in the next video.